Hello, I am Dr. Joelry Michael Raj, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, St. Xavier's College, Autonomous, Palayamkottai, Tirunelveli. Now, so far we are discussing the different types of pollination. Especially, we have covered anemophily, hydrophily, and now we are talking about entomophily and their adaptations. And we have seen about salvia, which has a very special type of mechanism for pollination. Now, there are other different plants that are very good examples for entomophilous flowers, especially the arum species. Now this portion of the flower, now it smells like human dung and it attracts some insects so that they pollinate these flowers. And it is the largest flower, Rafflesia, the largest flower in the world, where sometimes it may give some kind of rotten meat like smell which attracts even the rats, and even rats pollinate these flowers. That's very interesting. Insects also pollinate, sometimes even rats pollinate these flowers. And this is Sarapugia, where it has a special type of fly trap mechanism. Our Nepenthes species has a fly trap mechanism, but there the insects are consumed as food. Here, these insects are trapped inside for pollination, and that's very interesting. And Sarapugia species is one of the very good examples for fly trap mechanism to pollinate. Now look at here, another example is Aristolochia species, and this is another typical example of fly trap mechanism where these flies are trapped inside. Once they fall, they are attracted by these tentacles and they come inside and they get trapped inside these hairs. So now this lining is slippery with deflexed hairs and the long perianth tube dilated at the base. Now, the fetid smell of the flower attracts the insects that rub against the stigma, and once they are trapped inside, now here is the stigma, the gynoecium is here, and what happens is they are trapped and the pollen grains are getting dusted. Pollen grains are getting dusted, and when they enter into another flower, they get again trapped and transfer these dusted pollen grains to the stigma of another flower. Now hairs wither in the floral tube once, and then what happens? They bend backwards. Now this structure bends backwards and becomes flaccid, and these flies come out eventually. Okay. Now this is another mechanism that is adopted by Aristolochia to pollinate the flowers, and this is Sarapugia, as I already told you. Now this also has a fly trap mechanism to pollinate. Now this is yucca flower, another good example where it has a symbiotic relationship where these moths lay their eggs in these flowers. At the same time, they help in pollination by transferring the pollen ball to the stigma. Just to kindle some kind of interest in this subject, I would like to play a video which will show you the different types of pollination that is occurring in nature. Now these occurs in nature. Just see here. So wonderful. Now these flowers are so beautiful, and you can see the most important pollinating agent, which I already told you is the bee. Very interesting. And butterflies are another major agents. They come under insects, they come under entomophily, but though they are given a very special term called psychophily. Pollination by butterflies is called as psychophily. There's one more type of pollination called ornithopily. This is another interesting phenomenon where birds help in pollinating the flowers. One good example is the callistemon, otherwise it is called the bottle brush tree, where the flowers look like a bottle brush. Now, the characteristics or adaptation of a flower for bird pollination is these ornithophilous flowers are usually brightly colored, either red, orange, yellow, or blue, so as to attract the birds. And these floral pods are commonly leathery. And these ornithophilous flowers, secrete abundant watery nectar or have edible parts so that they serve as food for the birds. There is no odor or scent is absent, as like in entomophilous flowers they have odor. Pisaris lochia and Sarabugia, or even Rafflesia, which has a rotten meat-like smell, which attracts even rats. I told you. But here in ornithophilous flowers, they lack these scents. Okay, now this is the bottle brush flower, the inflorescence by that is by Callistemon species, where they are getting pollinated by birds. So this is another good example. Serligia reginae is another good example for ornithophily, pollination by birds. Plus flowers. The next type of pollination is like under biotic factors is chiroptrophy, that is pollination by bats. Now, bats even pollinate. One good example is Kigelia africana, and another example is Adansoni species. They are also pollinated with bats. And many of the agave species and cactus species are pollinated by bats. Now what we are going to see here is pollination by bats. As I already told you, some flowers open at the night or during the dusk. Now this is a very good example where these flowers of cactus and agave species opens during the night so that bat pollination is facilitated. Now these kind of flowers can be pollinated by only nocturnal uh, insects or even nocturnal animals like bats. Okay, now bat pollination is called as chiroptrophy, what we have seen. Now let us watch this video. Okay, now summary of so far what we have seen. Types of pollination. Basically there are two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination is of two types, autogamy and geitonogamy, what we have seen, and cross-pollination is getting divided into different types based on the agent which pollinates, either it may be an abiotic or a biotic agent. And we have seen the details of anemophily and hydrophily. And biotic agencies like insects, bats that pollinate the flowers are given separate terms. Pollination even by snakes occur, which is called as ophiophily, which is not mentioned here. But most commonly pollination occurs by bats and insects, and one of the very important pollinating agent is the bee. Pollination by butterflies. Now butterflies are other important agencies in pollination. And pollination by butterflies are specially termed as psychophily, though they come under the big term called entomophily. Normally pollination by insects is called as entomophily, but since butterflies are special agents, we give a special term called psychophily, like how we give a special term called melitophily for pollination by bees, which are also the very important agencies in pollination. Now this pollination is by butterflies. I think we have seen the different types of pollination. I have summarized everything, and it is all about the pollination and its types. In the next video, we'll see about the contrivances for cross pollination, or how a plant is adapted for cross pollination. Thank you very much for watching the video.